Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today, Santander Holdings USA Incorporated just filed an 8K report detailing a significant acquisition and related financial statements, and I am seeing a key integration detail that matters. Quick note, this is not financial advice, just my take on public filings for educational purposes. The company is sharing a lot of financial information about the Webster acquisition, but there are a few numbers in these exhibits that really tell the real story about how this might pan out. Alright, let's dive into what Santander Holdings USA Incorporated, or SHUSA as they call it, has filed. This is a current report, meaning it is about something important that just happened. The big news here is about the acquisition of Webster Financial Corporation and its banking arm, Webster Bank National Association. Banco Santander, the parent company, is buying Webster. This is a pretty big deal, and SHUSA is filing these documents to give us a look at the financial picture. For context, Banco Santander is a huge international banking group. SHUSA is their presence in the United States. They are acquiring Webster to strengthen their position in the US market. The deal involves a series of transactions, including a merger of Webster into a Virginia-based subsidiary, and then an acquisition of that subsidiary by Banco Santander, which will then contribute it to SHUSA. This sounds complex, but ultimately it means Webster and its bank are becoming part of the Santander family. The report itself details the agreement with Webster. It mentions that Webster's stockholders approved the deal. This is a positive step showing that the necessary approvals are being obtained. The core of the acquisition involves Webster merging into a specially created Virginia entity called Webster Virginia, and then Banco Santander acquiring all of Webster Virginia's stock. After that, Banco Santander plans to contribute Webster Virginia to SHUSA. The report also notes that following these steps, Banco Santander intends to merge Webster Virginia into SHUSA and Webster Bank National Association into Santander Bank National Association. These are all steps to integrate the acquired businesses. The report also indicates that this filing is made to provide crucial financial information related to this acquisition. Now, let's get to the really juicy part, the financial statements, especially the audited consolidated financial statements of Webster as of the 31st of December 2025 and 2024, and for the fiscal years ended the 31st of December 2025, 2024, and 2023. This is where we can see the financial health of Webster before it becomes part of Santander. Looking at the asset side for Webster for the 31st of December 2025, we see total assets are reported at a substantial amount. Let's look at specific numbers. Cash and cash equivalents are listed at around $9.3 billion. That is a healthy amount of readily available money. Then there is a large chunk in loans held for investment, net, which comes in at nearly $46 billion. This is the core business of a bank, lending money. Securities available for sale are another significant item, totaling about $13.8 billion. These are investments meant to be sold relatively soon. Total gross loans are shown as $46.6 billion. On the liabilities side, deposits are the biggest item for a bank, and Webster has about $46.7 billion in deposits as of the 31st of December 2025. This is essentially the money that customers have entrusted to the bank. Borrowings are around $3.4 billion. Then there are other liabilities. Total liabilities stand at approximately $57.3 billion. For equity, it is around $5.3 billion, which includes common stock, additional paid-in capital, and retained earnings. Overall, Webster appears to be a well-capitalized bank with a strong deposit base. When we look at the income statement for Webster for the year ending the 31st of December 2025, total revenue is reported at about $3.1 billion. This is made up of a few key components. Net interest income is the largest, coming in at around $2.2 billion. This is the profit a bank makes from lending money at a higher rate than it pays for deposits. Non-interest income, which includes things like fees and service charges, contributes about $908 million. This diversification of revenue streams is a good sign. And the bottom line for Webster for 2025, net income is reported at a solid $938 million. This shows profitability looking back to 2024. Net income was $843 million, so there was a nice increase. In 2023, net income was $771 million. This shows a consistent upward trend in profitability for Webster, which is likely what attracted Banco Santander. Now let's briefly look at the interim unaudited consolidated financial statements as of the 31st of March 2026. This gives us a more recent snapshot. Total assets are very similar, around $63.3 billion. Deposits are also similar, around $46.5 billion. Total revenue for the 3 months ending the 31st of March 2026 was about $803 million, and net income for that quarter was $249 million. This continues the profitability trend seen in the annual statements. Perhaps the most interesting part for us today is Exhibit 99.3, the unaudited pro forma condensed combined financial statements of SHUSA and Webster. Pro forma means as if. These statements show what the combined company would look like financially if the acquisition had already happened. This is crucial for understanding the potential impact. On a pro forma basis as of the 31st of March 2026, the combined entity's total assets are projected to be around $102 billion. This is a significant increase from Webster's standalone assets and shows the scale of the combined operations. Total deposits are projected at about $79 billion. This is a massive deposit base, which is a key strength for any bank. Intangible assets like goodwill are listed at about $2.7 billion. This often represents the premium paid over the fair value of net assets acquired. Total equity on a pro forma basis is around $8.4 billion. The report also details the expected impact on SHUSA's financial standing. This section will show how the acquisition changes the balance sheet of the surviving entity, SHUSA. Looking at the pro forma income statement for the 3 months ended the 31st of March 2026, total revenue is projected at around $1.7 billion. Net interest income is expected to be about $1.1 billion and non-interest income at about $567 million. This shows the combined revenue streams. For the full year 2025 on a pro forma basis, total revenue is projected at around $6.8 billion. Net interest income is estimated at $4.6 billion and non-interest income at $2.2 billion. This indicates the scale of the combined revenue potential. The pro forma net income for the full year 2025 is projected at $1.9 billion. This is a substantial figure, showing the combined profitability. Now, with all these numbers, it is important to remember the forward-looking statements section. This is where the company talks about what they expect to happen in the future, and it comes with a big disclaimer. They use words like potential, expect, and anticipate. This is standard legal language to protect them if things do not pan out exactly as planned. They highlight many risks, from economic conditions to integration challenges. The risks mentioned are quite broad. They talk about the possibility that the expected cost savings and synergies from the transaction might not be realized or might take longer than expected. This is a common concern in any merger: delays in closing the transaction, regulatory approvals, and potential legal or regulatory proceedings are also listed as risks. The integration of Webster might be more costly or difficult than expected. There is also always reputational risk and potential adverse reactions from customers, employees, and business partners. One specific risk mentioned is dilution caused by Banco Santander issuing additional shares. This means existing shareholders might see their ownership stake reduced. They also point out that announcements related to the transaction could negatively affect the market price of Webster's stock and Banco Santander shares. This is a delicate balance they are trying to strike, growing the business while managing shareholder expectations and potential dilution. So, what does all this mean? Santander Holdings USA Incorporated is clearly making a major move to expand its US footprint by acquiring Webster. The financial data from Webster shows a sound and growing business, which is a good sign for the acquisition. The pro forma financials paint a picture of a much larger, potentially more profitable entity. However, the success of this deal will heavily depend on how well Santander can integrate Webster and realize the expected synergies. The risks outlined are significant, and the market will be watching closely to see if they can overcome these challenges. The significant increase in assets and deposits suggests a strong potential for increased market share and revenue. But the risk of integration difficulties and potential dilution for existing shareholders are real concerns. The research tools and data sources I used to pull this information together are linked in the description below. That is my take. Stay decoded. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps. And subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description.